Okay, some of you have contributed interesting maps, which I always welcome, so thank you. So the most and least expensive land in America, the redder and more purple you are, the more expensive, and of course here we are. But it's just interesting how spotty that is, just reminding us of the great open continent that we had as we pursued manifest destiny. And I will have another slide on that in just a second. Um, and then life expectancy in America, the bluer you are, the luckier you are. And here we have the coast of California. Uh, and the reddish area, the American South, reflecting uh, so many factors that we won't go into. But the mapping of that is fascinating. And this is the Manifest Destiny. Tom sent me a copy of this. Was in the East Bay Times, and just looking at the broken treaties as the years rolled by and we expanded uh, ever more to the west. Um, and this is a timeline of that. Texas, Oregon. This is kind of where we stopped uh, at the War of 1846, where we still have to finish the history of the expansion of the United States. So uh, we can fold in Puerto Rico, and Jim is going to enlighten us on that at some point. Um, and so, manifest destiny, that's what it was. And this, of course, this little splotch is uh, where Iko and I spent 2 years in 1969 to 71 on the Navajo Reservation. And we've just had contact with a young guy who's running for president of the Navajo reservation. That's still alive, still kicking. Had a big problem during COVID. Just devastated the reservation. Um, this is from Harold. He's not here today, but he wanted me to be sure to understand that the left is more favorable to political violence than the right. And there are two questions. Protesting something unjust and uh, uh, violence in the name of creating a new social change. And of course, I think many of us were involved in the Vietnam protests. But it's just kind of in the nature of the left versus the right. The major difference is that the left is somehow born trying to help victims, and conservatives are more inclined to conserve things, to not change anything. So inherently, I think, not because of any thrill of violence, but inherently, the agenda of the right versus the left is actually going to tend towards that separation, where violence being more acceptable because we're trying to change things. And
Yes.
anyway, Harold, when you watch the video, I hope I treated you fairly. Comment?
Who is the research skeptic? The researchskeptic.com who conducted this.
Well, Harold submitted it. I don't know much more about it.
Well, it looks like the data was collected recently in August 2025 to September 2025. I just wonder if the height of those bars changes with, say, the administration. With the Trump administration, it kind of makes sense that the left might be more willing to commit violence. When Biden or Obama were president, I wonder if the right was bars were higher. I wonder how stable these are over times of control by one political party or another.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I'll ask Harold where he got this. I guess the perspective survey collected. Yeah. Okay. Too bad he's not here today. Um,
The Skeptic Research Center is run by Michael Shermer, who's a Los Angeles-based self-described libertarian.
aha.
That's
All right.
case.
Okay. That's interesting. So, would libertarians by nature be more, what's their, would you expect their attitude towards violence to be? I don't know. Um, all right. Onward we go. Geopolitics. Shigeko, you've got a Japanese woman, the first, probably going to be the first prime minister. She's just got elected to the Liberal Democratic Party, um, but she is of the right in the model of Margaret Thatcher, her hero. But she also played the drums in a band when she was younger, and apparently still picks up the sticks to blow off steam. Um, but she's conservative, and she is very much opposed to allowing women to be in the line of succession in the family dynasty. So they still have to take a back seat to their male cousins. Um, and yeah, fireball, polarizing. Um, so we'll see what happens there. Always in the news. This time it's yet another display of Ukraine's campaign to knock out Russian refineries. So that's their strategic goal. And we're all looking forward to this Friday when Trump's going to meet with Zelensky in the Oval Office. And they're talking about giving Ukraine Tomahawk missiles with the approval to fire them in any way that Russia is firing missiles at Ukraine, which is right now one-sided. So we'll see. You know, things are moving pretty fast. I'm not going to attempt to cover the big geopolitical news. It's too much of it. But we've been focusing on Ukraine since the very early days. Carol Marotta got us motivated, and so onward and forward. Um, the EU and NATO are talking about a drone wall. And it's interesting. The EU, represented by van der Leyen, endorsed the idea before NATO came in and said, yeah, good idea. And this is a list of the key strategic points that would be number one, targets of Russian harassment, but also places that could help put up a drone wall. Um, and the logistics, just a map of Russia. Norway's got a little sliver of frontier, but it's very small, of course, compared, especially to Finland, the Baltic countries. This is Kaliningrad, so you have to count Lithuania as being there. This is uh, Belarus, Ukraine, Poland has a border with Belarus. So it's a 3,000 kilometer border. So it would be a drone wall would be a huge undertaking. And power and manpower, and um, you'd have to coordinate not with local governments, and it's a strategic nightmare. Um, so, and still, you wouldn't get small drones, but I love Ukraine's spunk. They are deputizing local units paying $2,400 a month for local citizens to shoot down Russian drones using hunting rifles, machine guns from World War II, and fishing nets thrown over possible targets. They're looking into lasers. Uh, that would be interesting. So once again, Ukraine has that Cossack spirit, trying new things, and there's something admirable in that. Um, the even if you're not going to build a successful drone wall, just doing something is important. And just like in World War II, Churchill ordered anti-aircraft batteries around London, even though they weren't going to be terribly successful. But he wanted the citizenry to witness that this presence, and the military effectiveness was secondary. Um, Good news, renewable energy. Yeah, we had that special session that was built on The Economist, a special edition on renewables. And their prediction has come true. The solar energy in particular has just grown like crazy. And now you have India and China in on the action, the two largest populated countries in the world. China now makes 80% of solar panels, and India is getting into solar and wind, and this is one of their solar farms. So the interesting thing is, even in the United States, for the first time, coal, which has gone down and down and down and down for a lot of reasons, not just policy, but the downward cost of particularly solar panels means that renewables have just surpassed coal and nuclear. So that's something, um, some good news, something to cheer about. But Trump, in his contrarian mood, is rescinding all the funds that Biden had allocated for renewables, and he's still in the mood of drill, baby, drill. Um, yeah, Bob.
The New York Times 2 or 3 days ago had an article, fascinating article on what the Chinese are building on at 10,000 feet on the Tibetan plateau. It's a solar farm 7 times the size of Manhattan, and it'll transport electricity on ultra high voltage lines a couple of thousand miles.
Wow.
So Trump can be all the contrarian he wants to be, but boy, is solar energy the future.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, well,
I
yeah, Jim.
just add, I saw the same article and was going to make the same comment. I think they're planning more even at elevations of 17,000 feet because they can get more energy, solar energy, the higher they are.
Right.
And then you couple that with the latest stopping of a huge solar farm in Nevada by the U.S. government that was planned that had been on the drawing boards.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad. Um, so Trump is focusing on reformatting the grid, so that's something. Um, but he's while he reduces the subsidies for renewables that Biden had arranged, he's adding subsidies for coal.
Mowing is done.
Okay.
And yeah, it feels good to get that done.
Ed,
So I've got
let's see.
the tarps out there, got the wheelbarrow out there. Just waiting for the guy to show up at 4 o'clock. We can dump the wood. We can start bringing it in tonight. And the rest we can get over the weekend. Friday,
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday. We
Okay.
don't have to kill ourselves on it. Just work on it steadily.
Yeah.
You know, a few wheelbarrow loads, work 30 minutes. Wait a couple hours, work another 30 minutes.
Ed,
Then we're done. We'll
you
get it all
yourself.
enclosed, get that enclosed, and we're set for the winter.
Okay.
Set for the winter.
So
Yeah.
I'll go out and rake it pretty soon.
A little bit. You don't have to right now. It's dry.
It's 3
But
o'clock.
it looks so good. It just looks so good and
Yeah.
groomed again.
There's new little grass coming out since it's rained.
Hello.
Where it's been kind of bare
Totally forgot
or
this
brown
thing.
looking, it's now got.
John, you can mute him.
I'm trying to figure out how to do that. There, I got it. Okay. And we have Aiko joining us.
A little late. I went for a walk with Connie just now, and we were just having a yammering time.
Good for you. So drill, baby, drill makes me think of the Jonestown Massacre and drink, baby, drink.
Oh,
This would be a slower consequence, but it's the same idea.
yes, yes. Premature death. Yeah.
Yeah.
California. Okay, we are going to get back to California, but here's 3 cheers for California. They've led the charge in, so to speak, in battery storage.
Yeah.
And I just have a hard time visualizing what batteries are. So I found some photos of what a battery farm can look like outside and inside. And so California's tripled their capacity over the last 5 years. And during the peak sessions, a quarter of electricity can be met by batteries that have stored renewables energy from the day before from solar and wind. So that helps. And it's a nice alternative to nuclear during times when solar and wind are down because of the time of day or weather. Um, so that's interesting. And these are the battery installation places, three major ones in the valley. It's interesting to see where the solar is around as well. And the geothermal. I know there used to be some geothermal up in towards
Geyserville.
Geyserville. Yeah, exactly. Um, and so there's that. Um, but then there was another one at Moss Landing, and in January, 10 months ago, it just malfunctioned uh, uh, definitively. So there's that. We lost one in Monterey. Um, So there's some odd bedfellows and some surprising embraces. So Joe Manchin got together with Barrasso, a Republican from Wyoming, who probably has some interest in solar and wind, to streamline permitting process, but opposition from environmental groups knocked it down. Um, Trump, while pulling the plug, so to speak, on current projects, is wanting to make getting new permits easier, and while canceling already approved ones. Go figure. And then his interior secretary is taking quote unquote personal responsibility for getting wind and solar projects approved, putting a thumb in the eye of environmentalists who have been objecting and, of course, have been one of the impediments. All this is laid out in abundancy by Ezra Klein. And so they also canceled a wind farm that's been 80% built. Trump has a particular objection against wind because it interferes with the views and a golf club that he has in Scotland. That's where he learned to hate wind. And this is what Jim said, the solar power farm in Nevada. It had been one of the largest in the world. But Trump just knocked that down, and we'll see if he wins Nevada next time, assuming that he'll cheat and run again somehow. So maybe the midterms we'll see Nevada come through. And the solar, it's interesting when you're pricing it out. If you're building an electrical system from scratch in rural Brazil, for sure you want to use the renewables, particularly solar. Also in Ghana, because there you'd want the cheapest infrastructure you got. But when you've already got built infrastructure, like here in a developed country, the marginal, and this is probably their argument for coal, the marginal cost for ramping up coal probably are more competitive with building renewables de novo. California, Junipero Serra, Michael sent me this. I don't know how many of you have ever noticed at the rest stop on 280, this statue, a very brutalist style, Junipero Serra, glaring down at 280. But the rest stop, the transportation art program, just decided unilaterally to tear it down. There was no discussion, and the Catholic Church is particularly peeved at that. And it's a fuller view of it.
Well, just so you know that our kids, we drove by this all the time. They like to call it Dopey's grave.
The what grave?
Dopey's grave, one of the dwarfs.
Oh, okay.
Because it really is an awful statue.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think they did try to get in touch with the Catholic Church. That article says they made an attempt.
Oh, they did. Okay. Um, all right. But of course, the tribal groups are happy about that, although not all. There are some uh, uh, Native Americans who are ambivalent, let's say. Um, and so there it is now, the rest stop without the dopey. So uh, and so we went back, and Michael lamented, "You can't make everybody happy," um, but also added, "Is this a great country or what?" I mean, when you just look at this kind of episode, where else in the world are you going to get an event like this? Um, Also, good news. So, a Berkeley professor of chemistry got the Nobel Prize for metal organic frameworks, uh, incalculable applications. If somebody wants to explain them, I'd be glad to listen. But he lauded American public education right up front at his press conference. And he was from Jordan. And his father finally got him into a community college back on the East Coast, New England. And then he just went all the way up from public school to public school, and eventually getting to Berkeley, which he lauded. And so, good news for California, secondarily, in public education.
Just before you leave, the Nobel's in California. The University of California, system-wide, got 5 Nobels last week. That's the most ever for any institution.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. And I think long term, if you pile those 5, there's plenty more. I think it's
Oh, yeah.
by far. I mean, going all the way back to Oppenheimer, for goodness sakes. I'm not sure he got a Nobel, but I think Lawrence Livermore has a few. So, uh, and the other thing about California standing up to the feds, automobile standards, renewables, and we've even partnered with the EU on in some environmental initiatives. And this is by way of introducing this article. Yeah, Michael.
The other thing they're opposing the feds on is the Trump's attempts to tell the UC system how to, I don't know, curriculum and admission standards. The Trump people sent something out telling the UCs how to run their business.
And thank you. That's a segue to Rob Bonta, who is the state attorney general, and he is winning. We hear about it with every loss, but so far he's winning all his challenges to federal lawyers, and he says that attorney general can do a lot of things that governors can't do. And sure, Trump is flirting with lawlessness, but he's not there yet, and he is following all the court orders that California has won. So there's a bit of good news. And there's a multi-state lawsuit against the feds over a number of issues, but specifically in California, funds to help migrant children learn English. And that was preserved. It was permanent, a final ruling, no appeals. State energy projects that Trump has tried to cut back on. A win. So count that as a plus for climate and for consumers. And then trying to conflate homeland security with immigration policies. No, you have to keep those separate. Safety shouldn't be tied to deportations. So there you go. And Bonta makes the point that immigrants are overwhelmingly law-abiding in California. This caught my eye, and it sparked the history of California and where we started. I think Carol was and Aiko was with me when we started the history of California, which didn't exist millions of years ago, and it only exists from the scrapings off of the top of the Pacific Plate. I'll show you in just a second. But here, the earthquake theorists are afraid that now the Cascadia subduction zone and the San Andreas fault might constitute one gigantic fault line, which could make the next earthquake really terrible. And I just wanted to, Juan de Fuca, that person has always intrigued me. Who was he? To get a plate named after him. And this is where the double whammy earthquake might take place. The Pacific Plate pushing in, and near the Juan de Fuca Plate. And I'll just note here we were up visiting Mount Shasta with the grandkids. And we ran into a park ranger, and we just started chatting, and he let us know about Mount Shasta. There's a volcano there, and it goes off about every 500 years, and we're somewhere within 450. So Mount Shasta could go. It's all part of this Pacific ring of fire. And in 1950, Lawson did blow. And I guess two different dates, sorry. And that was Mount St. Helens. And so Lawson with Mount St. Helens, I think that was in the 60s, are the only two volcanoes within the United States to erupt during the 20th century. And this is the deal. This is Mount Lassen, and this is labeled a hot rock that traveled all the way from the explosion in 2014-15. And you can see what's left of Mount Lassen. The whole side of the mountain was blown off. So we're in an interesting place. Okay, so Juan de Fuca, you have to, what was missing and is missing in our vocabulary is the Farallon plate. And it has been pushed under by the Pacific plate moving eastward, northeastward. And so this is the coast of North America. There is no California at this time. A lot of California is the scrapings off of the Farallon plate from subduction. And here you can see the Farallon plate has been pretty much pushed under by the Pacific plate, and the remnants of the Farallon plate are Juan de Fuca in the north, and then there's another one, the Cocos plate. But this is the part of the original Farallon plate. And this is, sorry, this is how it happens. The subduction, the top gets scraped off, and this Franciscan complex joins the top of the North American, the continental plate, and became California. So California is just some scrapings off on the West Coast. And this is another look at the Farallon plate being subducted, Juan de Fuca up there. And this makes it a little more clear. This is the old Farallon plate, the Pacific plate divides it in half. Here's Juan de Fuca up there. This is still the Farallon plate, but the southern segment, and kind of where we are now. And the Cocos plate has been further divided. There's a Rivera plate. So I find this stuff interesting. This is just another way of looking at it. Pacific plate, pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, Pacific plate, pushing Juan de Fuca up there. So where California comes from, it's basically scrapings. And this is some areas where you can actually see the Farallon plate that has been scraped off and different layers of it in California today. Here's Marysville, here's Truckee. So all of this is the old Farallon plate. And where does Farallon come from? Well, it comes from the Spanish name for the current Farallones. So the name goes retrograde from our current name from the Spanish, which Farallones means cliffs. And so, where did the rest of the Farallon plate go? Deep into the Earth's core. And this is the scientists have figured out, and I don't know how, the old Farallon plate that uh, uh, went deeper than California. So there you go. Uh, Juan de Fuca, who was he? He was a Greek. And like Columbus, he sailed for the Spanish. And he came to the New World, and he got as far north as British Columbia. And he thought when he was going into the opening between Canada and the United States, which is called the Strait of Juan de Fuca, he thought he was entering the Northwest Passage. And he came back with glowing descriptions. This is the Strait of Juan de Fuca. And he probably headed up in the inland passage to Alaska. And he was sure that this was the Northwest Passage, that if he kept going, he would get to Great Britain, Scotland. So he was a fabulist, returned to Spain with all these stories, and some have even wondered if he ever really existed, but he likely did, and the history is of his travels and tales have been accepted. All right, so now those were what I thought were irresistible tangents that we came into contact with this last week. Michael.
When you were talking about all those alternative energy sites and so on Sunday there was a report on 60 Minutes about how the Chinese have hacked into a lot of the computer networks that control all the various infrastructure in our country, the water systems, sewer systems, electric, and so on. Just interesting that they are hacking into these systems, and they could throw the country into a tremendous turmoil if they so decided by screwing up these networks. I don't know if you had seen that. I thought it was interesting in the context of all these attempts to work on alternative energy. I mean, they could bungle up our systems no matter what the source.
Well, it's another nice segue, Michael, into what we're going to be talking about now, which is how most of the engineers that the Chinese are cranking out now are going into IT. And the phrase was they don't want to get their hands dirty making things. They want bits, not bolts, was the term. So that's the story we're starting. Well, we're in the middle of. We started it last week. Um, so the book that I talked about last week was how China is an engineer state and America is a lawyer state. And the engineers are overrepresented on their the Communist Central Committee, and they're doing things from restoring wetlands to improving metal alloys. and they've got 20 million engineers. So the dilemma that China is facing now is when a country matures, they at some point have to become more of a service economy. And China was on the way to becoming a service economy until Trump showed up. And that forced them to kind of go in reverse and again become a more of an engineering state. But this time more with an emphasis on computer engineering. So um, the this is such a hot topic in China now because they've opened a pathway for Indian engineers, just like we have. Now, for us, the advantage of Indian engineers is they speak English, so there's a rationale for that. But and China has never been a great country to welcome immigrants, but they're welcoming Indian engineers, and it's has raised some resentment among the Chinese engineers. Uh, so this is the book. I talked about it briefly last week. And the point that Dan Wang makes is as a engineering society, they can go overboard in social engineering, as they did with the one-child policy and the zero COVID policy. So that engineering mindset has some downsides. Um, yes, America's a lawyerly society. Bill Clinton made that observation when he visited China. And at that point, he said, let's trade some lawyers for engineers. And Wang actually agrees, and I'm going to give the punchline because this is what he says at the end of the interview. He says, America should add 20% more emphasis on engineers, and China should become 50% more lawyerly. That's the punchline, and let's see if I can make the case. I think the best interview with him, I don't know how many of you have listened to On Point, with Meghna Chakrabarty, but she's pretty good. And she did one on Christian nationalism a year ago that kind of prepared me for what we're seeing now. But she does a really good interview, so I really looked at the transcript, and they started off by contrasting living in the Bay Area with living in China. And the point is made that we are suffering from a lack of infrastructure, although we have BART, which has been a sore point with Homer when it was first proposed. But I think we're all adapting to that now. But of course, is the rapid train to Los Angeles, which none of us will ever see, and the Caltrains. It's actually they've electrified parts of it now in the Bay Area, and it's much quieter, much less pollution, but it doesn't go all the way to Los Angeles. So they compare and contrast the Bay Area, California, with China. And they made the point that in 2008, that was a big year for both San Francisco and China. In 2008, that's when the proposal for our rapid transit was approved, 400 miles. And at the same time, in 2008, a rapid train from Beijing and Shanghai was made, and it only took the Chinese 3 years, 3 years, and cut the time to 4 hours to get from Beijing to Shanghai. And it was built on budget in 3 years. And so here we are, 17 years on and struggling. And if we want to go from Bakersfield to Fresno, maybe you could do that soon, but not for a while. And they've already logged 1.4 billion passenger trips, and when I'm 99, I'll be able to go to LA by high-speed rail. Renewable energy. So China has done 10 times as much in renewable energy. They now have 33 nuclear plants that are under construction, zero in America. And so
That's the situation.
and once you arrive in Shanghai, Dan Wang says you right at the airport, you get on a subway and you're in the center of the city in less than 30 minutes. You can jump on another high-speed rail. And everything is more orderly. Everything is much better connected. Now, we say this, and I'll get to the point later where we talk about the cohesiveness of a society, and it helps, when 90% of the population is Han Chinese, and we have a lot more diversity. So maybe that's part of the problem. But the priority now, because the United States has tried to create a chokehold on advanced chips, China has responded, and so the engineering students in China are now signing up for IT work, as I said earlier. And so what's happening to the old style manufacturing? Well, until Trump, it was declining. And there's a natural evolution in a society when you reach somewhere around making $15,000 to $20,000 a year per capita. You naturally tend to evolve to a more service economy, and manufacturing recedes, and we see that on this economist graphic. So somewhere in it's more like 30% for $20,000 to $30,000 a year per China. You naturally, the populace naturally evolves to wanting more services. So I think that that's a good place to stop. And next time we'll start with what went wrong, and what went wrong was Trump, who's kind of interjected himself and interfered with this natural evolution. All right, so um, thoughts, discussion, new ideas.
Is this on point? Is that a podcast or?
Yes, it's a
Uh,
podcast. I
right.
recommend it. Yeah, Bob.
Oh, just a footnote to the renewable energy presentation section. Yes, the Trump administration cancelled or suspended the permit for the Revolution Wind project off the northeast coast, which was 80% complete. A judge has recently permitted the project to continue. And yes, Trump has hated windmills since they spoiled the view from his Aberdeen golf course in Scotland. But actually, what the Danes think, when I was there 3 weeks ago, is that it's also because the company whose project it is, the Revolution Wind project, it's the largest one in the US, is a project of a Danish energy company called Ørsted. And the reason they think he canceled it because it's Danish is, again, this retribution or retaliation for not yet being handed Greenland. And the stock price of Ørsted came to my attention because a very good friend in Denmark, Ola, said to me, I've just lost 80% of the value of my Ørsted shares. Ørsted is the Danish way of saying or writing Ørsted. So if you see it written in the American press, they will have forgotten which vowel to use at the start of the word. But
All right.
The Trump Department of Retribution.
Yes.
Well, John, you made reference to our next session next week. Is that going to be affected by what happens on Saturday? Will that be a focus of some of what your thoughts are? What is it? If we get 3.5% of the population out protesting, it's bad news for the government in power. I've read that statistics.
Well, let's hope. I don't know, Homer. I haven't been chasing the day to day or week to week.
No, that's true.
I might be interested in month to month, but this was something that Ramsey cautioned me on, and he, even when we were just doing our monthly stuff, he kind of stayed away from current events because it's just he was interested in the history stuff, which some say takes 10 to 20 years for you to know whether an event is historical or not. And so probably not, but you know, we'll see. I do go off on tangents, like subduction and the Farallon plate, which some I find irresistible, but I find Trump resistible.
Yeah.
Just to drag in a piece of history related to a very current news event, the war in Gaza, I did just double check what I thought had happened during the First World War, which was that Britain had 3 battles of Gaza against the Ottoman Empire in 1917. The first 2 battles of Gaza they lost, though they claimed they had just retired strategically. The 3rd battle, they beat the Ottomans, the Ottoman Empire, and in the process completely destroyed the city of Gaza, razed it to the ground just 107 years ago.
Huh.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the other little blurb, if I can add this. Last night we were listening to Rachel Maddow, and she talked about how many hostages had been released while Biden was still president. And when he was working out and had a ceasefire, and something like 140 uh, Israeli prisoners were released, and then there was another something like 10 or 20, and then the ceasefire fell apart. And now Trump, who's being heralded as the great savior, has allowed 20 remaining hostages to be released. But the most interesting thing was this morning, my wife tried to go online to find out how many hostages had been released while Biden was president. And the only thing she could come up with was the record of the 20 hostages that Trump has released or is being held responsible for releasing. And it's interesting that somewhere, somehow, at least when she was trying to find the news about how many hostages were released under Biden, you can't find it. So there's something going on there with what they're letting out as far as the networks maybe trying to appease Trump by keeping the news of what Biden accomplished. Just an aside.
Yeah. I want to go back to Bob's comment about the naval battle in World War One. You'll remember in the movie Lawrence of Arabia, they were coming down, and the Turks had their guns pointed out to the sea. I'm not sure whether it was at Eilat or somewhere near there, um, thinking that they would have to thwart a British naval attack. And what Lawrence figured out is he could get these desert nomads on their camels to come and attack the fort from behind. And all the guns, and there was a wonderful cinematic moment where you see all the guns pointed out to the sea as the Bedouin on camels rode through the streets with their swords swinging. Yeah, so history.
All
Okay.
right.
Any other comments? Then we'll sign off.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
All right. Bye bye now.